Welcome to this three-part series titled 10 Hard Truths That Make It Difficult to Be a Lean Hospital Leader. I'm Richard Rahn with the Leonardo Group. And if creating a lean culture or a lean hospital were easy, every hospital would be one, right? The seductive part about lean is that it's not really too hard to find some waste and make improvements. That can be pretty exciting, especially at the beginning of your lean journey. What is much more difficult, as we will see, are the issues that require a long-term commitment or that maybe aren't that exciting. Dealing with people is always a challenge on top of that, and lean is a people-centric initiative. As a lean hospital leader, you may feel like you're herding cats, as the expression goes. In this series, we'll review 10 of the more challenging requirements in building a lean hospital. You can probably pretty easily rate your own hospital on a scale of 1 to 10. Remember that even if you think your hospital ranks low on any of these hard truths, they are all possible to achieve. In fact, we'll be providing examples of each hard truth as evidence that it's not impossible. So let's start with some of our credentials and provide some evidence that we know what we're talking about. At the Leonardo Group, we've been doing lean training and mentoring since the early 1990s. So over 20 years. All of us started our lean work first in manufacturing, and that's quite common. But it turns out that lean is also a great fit for hospitals, and we started our first lean hospital project in 2002. And we currently have over 20 lean consultants in the company, both in our U.S. office and in Munich, Germany. And I mention multilingual and multicultural since we have Leonardo Group mentors from a variety of different countries. And we do what we do in over 8 different languages. We're the authors of the book, The Complete Guide to Mixed Model Line Design for Manufacturing, and 6 books for the Lean Hospital, shown here, and available from floatpublishing.com, that's our online bookstore, or amazon.com. And they're available in paper or ebook formats. With that statement of credibility behind us, let's review the agenda for this 3-part training series. Some of you may be new to this topic, so we'll start with a definition of what, in our view anyway, a lean hospital is. We'll give you a formal definition of lean as it was originally defined, and then we'll apply that definition to a more hospital-specific statement. Once you know more or less what a lean hospital is, the next logical question is, who cares? Why is becoming a lean hospital something worth striving for? We'll cover a list of reasons, many of which will benefit you personally and benefit your career directly. We'll then jump into the 10 hard truths. I'm calling them hard truths because, number 1, they are required in order to truly call yourself a lean hospital. And 2, they're not that easy to accomplish fully or to sustain over a long period of time. You can't ignore them. So the challenge in front of you is how to not only accomplish them, but sustain them into the foreseeable future. The calls to action are some of the next steps that you can take to accomplish the 10 hard truths. So let's start now with a plain vanilla definition of lean. This definition comes directly from the Lean Enterprise Institute and was obviously developed for the world of manufacturing. There are certain words here that are a tip-off. Pull of the customer and flowing the product, to be specific. Waste is a universal concept that applies extremely well in hospitals, and we can easily understand flowing the product as patient flow, a common term used in hospitals. So let's see if we can retool this definition into one that applies more directly to hospitals. So a lean hospital is an organization that is continually improving patient safety and satisfaction, treatment outcomes, and staff development through the elimination of waste and errors and improvement in patient and workflow. So that definition is an improvement with more of a focus on patients and patient flow. The key phrase in both definitions is continually improving or continuous improvement. After all, if you keep getting better and better, as long as you can progress fast enough, how can you go wrong? These definitions are good, but let's now get specific about why a hospital would want to pursue a lean initiative in the first place. The list is long, but lean hospitals exhibit these characteristics or achieve these positive benefits. I don't need to read this list to you, but it is important to point out that while lean results in positive financial benefits, by the way, lean manufacturing companies tend to be the most profitable in their industries, it's not all about money. The financial gains come as an outcome of focusing on patients and staff and improving hospital processes. If a hospital is centered mainly on cost-cutting or dollar-saving opportunities primarily, then it's probably on the wrong track. So don't ignore the dollars, but don't lose a patient or staff-centered orientation. Okay, let's jump into hard truth number 10. We'll count down the list a la David Letterman. This is hard truth number 10. You need a roadmap and a master plan. Let's define these terms a bit more. By roadmap, we mean a documented and proven series of steps to follow to achieve a desired objective, which in this case is the creation of a high-performing hospital based on lean principles. The master plan defines the who, what, when, where, and how to make that happen. In the short term, medium term, and long term, specific projects and resources are assigned in the master plan. Now, why is this a hard truth? The fact is that it's surprisingly easy to launch Kaizen events and process improvement projects without actually having an overall master plan. That's like taking a road trip without having a destination or using a map. You may have some adventurous fun, but that's no way to run a railroad. So let's take a look at examples of both a roadmap and a master plan. This is an example of the Lean Hospital Roadmap that we use at the Leonardo Group. This flowchart shows at a high level the steps that will need to be completed to reach the goal of a certified lean hospital. Of course, this is a very high-level document, but wherever you see a drill icon or picture of a drill, that's an indication that there's a more detailed roadmap underneath the high-level activity. So the entire roadmap set in this example would be 14 high-level activities shown right here, and then 14 detailed action maps underneath that. You can download a copy of this high-level map for free by clicking on the link provided on this webpage if you'd like to study it in more detail. So let's now take a quick look at the master plan from a lean perspective. The Japanese word for the lean planning process is Hoshin kanri, translated as strategy deployment. Now, this is a big topic, and we'll only be touching on it here briefly. In this graphic, what's communicated is the chain of action, starting with the high-level vision created by senior hospital management, and then translated into specific and department-level plans by middle hospital management, and then actually implemented by cross-functional implementation teams. So each level in the process is linked to the level above and below. So take a look at the book Hoshin Kanri for the Lean Enterprise by Tom Jackson for a lot more information on this powerful method for creating a master plan and strategy deployment. And the core idea is that senior management sets the strategic direction, but that everyone has a role to play in actually making it happen on the ground and moving in the same direction. Case in point, this is an actual example of what we're discussing in this hard truth. We'll have at least one of these case histories for each of our 10 hard truths, and this is an example of a Hoshin Kanri A3 size worksheet. That's approximately 11 by 17 inch piece of paper. You use this form to promote alignment in your master plan by comparing your strategy or vision with your tactics or projects, with your process measurements or metrics, with your quantified results or financial results. A strong correlation gets a black dot, a medium correlation gets a white dot, and a weak correlation gets a triangle. You also align the people who will be directing these projects in this section on the right. Done right, this is an extremely powerful tool, and if you don't do this analysis, then how would you ever know if your actions actually match your vision and measurements and using the right people? Again, this is discussed in detail in the book Hoshin Kanri for the Lean Enterprise. So that's hard truth number 10. Any mature lean organization can show you their master plan and are probably using some of the tools we just presented here. But this is obviously a lot of work. Hoshin Kanri will take years to understand and develop fully. Okay, let's move on to hard truth number 9. Hard truth number 9 is all value streams need to be mapped and standardized. There are two separate but related concepts here: value stream mapping and standard work. So let's start with value stream mapping and discuss what that means. A common starting point for a lean transformation is to understand where you are today, the current state, with the tool of value stream mapping, or VSM. The beauty of VSM is that you're documenting not just the flow of work, but the delays between processes. These delays are one of the things that you are trying to reduce or eliminate as a part of your lean effort. In the VSM shown here, all of the yellow triangles represent delays, or queue time. Of course, we can't just wish the queue time to go away. Some work will be needed to improve the process in order to create what we call the future state. The deliverable here is to ensure that every one of your major value streams, that is, the series of processes through which you deliver value to your patients or to your customer, is mapped out in this flowchart format. We recommend creating them using sticky notes and brown paper and cleaning them up later on with software. Now, what you see here is an example of software that will help you document these flowcharts called iGraphics, but there are several other good tools that you can use, including Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Visio. So how many value streams can you expect to have to document? In short, lots. But you need to use the 80-20 rule. Keep that in mind and plan to capture the value streams that impact 80% or 90% of your customers or patients. You can realistically expect to document several dozen value streams over time. It should only take a few days or less to do each one, however, so it's not impossible to accomplish. Let's now talk about standardization. This is a picture of the father of standardization, Frederick Winslow Taylor, and we celebrated the 100th year anniversary of his book, Principles of Scientific Management, in 2011. So it was published in 1911. He used the term one best way to describe the goal of standardization. Now, there may be more than one way to complete a task, so it will be the responsibility of management to determine the way it will be done. And this can be done through experimentation, comparing the various methods by consensus, by the work group, or by best practices established by organizations like AORN. And of course, the work can also be further improved over time. In a lean hospital, a fairly large part of management's job is to sustain and improve standard work. And this is not a minor detail. In fact, training new hires to do standard work is the most respectful thing you can do as a manager, since you will presumably be training them in the best way to do the work that you know today that is also safe and ergonomic. So let's point out that an important quality practice related to standard work is called check, do, check. Let's talk about that. The primary purpose of documenting standard work is to define the relationship of quality to the documented task. If you can define quality checks at the task level and perform those checks while doing the work, you can insert quality into the process rather than relying on inspection to discover defects, or worse, allowing defects to get through. In the check, do, check method, the staff person doing the work may be required to perform certain self-check steps. That's inspecting their own work. However, since as human beings, we're not terribly good at checking our own work, It may also be necessary to have a second person, a second set of eyes, verify that same step. By formally defining where these checks take place, you're greatly improving the chances that the check, number one, will be done, and number two, be done efficiently. So case in point, at a recent Kaizen event or process improvement event that we conducted to reduce changeover times in the OR suites at a hospital, the improvement teams not only documented the new and improved process on paper, but they also decided to document the process using an inexpensive video camera and a software application called Camtasia Studio. Now, there are lots of other video editing tools available, of course. A separate training video was created for the surgical techs, the turnover technicians, and the surgical nurse. And training videos are great, and it's becoming easier and easier to create them well. So, what's so hard about creating and standardizing value streams? It's just that there is a lot of work to document. Consider, however, the alternative, of which there is none. Hard truth number 8. Every department needs a mentor. The philosophy here is that lean is not the domain of a few specialists, but rather a democratic movement that needs to involve everyone in the organization. In order to make that happen, people need to be trained and guided, and we're calling these guides mentors. These mentors actually work in their departments, and so they are insiders rather than outsiders, and have a better understanding of the needs of each department. Mentorship is not a full-time job by itself, but is instead embedded with other responsibilities. Mentorship is not something new. We use the mentoring system in a variety of endeavors. It's how we train artists, athletes, Zen masters, and scientists. It's really no different in a hospital as it applies to creating a lean culture. The important point about the mentor is that he or she is not a know-it-all who tells people the right way to do things. Rather, the person applies the Socratic method of asking questions and letting people develop their own critical thinking and problem-solving abilities. Now, developing a strong group of mentors is clearly a hard truth. Steve Jobs thought that the hiring process was the most important task of all. And cultivating staff members to become mentors is probably one of the biggest challenges in becoming a true lean hospital. Now, it's been suggested that Toyota has grown too fast in recent years and has outgrown their ability to develop internal mentors. Don't know if that's true or not, but it is certainly true that Toyota takes its role of mentorship seriously. And virtually all managers at Toyota have risen through the ranks, as opposed to being hired into higher level roles from an outside organization. So case in point, mentors can be formally trained. And we at the Leonardo Group have developed a specific mentor or lean specialist training workshop. Now, a big part of each module in this course of study involves hands-on work. And the entire duration of this course is 6 months, with 1 week per month dedicated to training in a number of lean methods. Now, doing is the best way to learn, so a big part of the lean mentor training is involved in actually working on and leading improvement projects. The hard truth is that developing mentors is hard, but mentors can be trained. If you analyze the Lean Hospital Roadmap that's available to you, see the link below, you'll appreciate that there's a lot to know about lean deployment in a hospital. This is a partial list of the tools and strategies that we'll be covering in our upcoming live workshop in September in Largo, Florida. In particular, we want you to become a lean leader or become a better one if you already are one. To that end, you'll need to understand how to apply the lean methods, but more importantly, develop the habits that you need to have in order to work with others and sustain process improvements. So you can click on the link on this page below to view a detailed PDF brochure with a lot more information about this upcoming event. And the workshop will be hosted by CONMED at their state-of-the-art facility in Florida. This concludes the first of the three-part series on the subject of the hard truths that make it difficult to be a lean hospital leader. The next part will be released shortly, and you'll be receiving an email link to view it. This is Richard Ron with the Leonardo Group, and thank you for watching.